Welcome to MRE Uncut, where we'll give you real and practical insights into the real estate scene in Melbourne. We'll discuss what's happening in the industry, all backed by MRE's history of over 30 years in the game. With that said, let's jump into this week's episode of MRE Uncut.
Welcome back to another MRE podcast. My name's Steve Fitzsimon. I'm here today with Pete Hoymans.
Hello.
Flynn Grace.
Hello.
And Bronte Carfino.
Hello.
Today we're going to be talking about why renters should choose MRE as their agent of choice. And I think the approach that MRE's had is a unique one. It comes from a little while ago. Pete, do you want to give us a...
You're just going to dump me right in it straight away?
Yeah, I'm
okay.
hand passing.
Okay, so I think let's go back to maybe 2010, probably a little bit before, but 15 years ago, you and I were, talking about our rent roll, talking about how poor the service was at the time for tenants generally.
Yep.
Poor old tenant had to queue up and didn't get a call back and might have had an application pending without information, not knowing whether they should apply for another. So back then, we together decided that we would put a high priority on the tenant experience.
Yeah.
Interrupt if I'm missing any.
No, I think
it's a little while ago.
Yeah.
So the tenant experience was a thing that we really focused on. Once we had the great man Mike Drover come on to head up our leasing team, we're in the position to really, I think that's the point in time, let's call it 2013, 14, where we really ratcheted up the service standards.
Yeah.
And then...
And resourcing.
And then I think we saw some things like some of the buildings that we had listed when we had, let's say 200 for rent or even 150 for rent in one building, but we had 150 people turn up on the day. So the question for us was, how do we service that? That was a difficult thing to service. At which point we decided, let's crank up the leasing resources. Let's crank up the tenant experience, because our feeling was, if you like, that if we look after the tenants, then the tenants love leasing through us. That indirectly affects our property owners by virtue of the tenant experience. It's just a better outcome for all concerned, which led into the creation of, I call the Loveability team, but it's actually the Liveability team, and I love the Liveability team, because the Liveability team is at ground level every weekend, during the week, at night, servicing how many tenants a week, roughly? Or prospective tenants, sorry.
I'd say it'd be sitting at around 2,500.
So 2,500 people a week.
Wow, you don't think of that.
Times 4, what's that? 12,000 people a month are having a touch point with us.
Yep.
So our Liveability team is
vital.
Yeah, it's and it's something we've put a lot of time and structure and effort into, making it as good as we can, and it's still growing.
It is.
And we've got 2 superstars with us today.
We do.
Of the Liveability team.
Too nice.
And but that's the just
the
from
crux of it.
Yeah, that's the quick snapshot of our philosophy around tenant first, not tenant over landlord, of course, but I can't call them that anymore.
No, it's renter and rental provider.
That's it.
Yeah.
But the tenant experience for us is still something we focus heavily on.
Yeah, and I think if we go back to when that focus became important to us, one of the things that I noticed is we'd be showing our 50 apartments in a brand new building, and other agents might have 1 or 2 in the building, and they were the same floor plan on a different level, but tenants were coming to us and saying, I want to rent through you because the experience that I've had at the opens, submitting the application, I've been approved on both of them, but I want to choose you as an agent. And that's the point that we sort of started going, okay, well, we're starting to win this. How can we expand that out, and how can we grow that to where it is now? And now we've got Flynn and Bronte here, and they're two of our Loveability,
Absolutely.
livability gurus. What's the background to where your role sits at the moment, and then how are your interactions with the public? How do they see you, and how do you work with them to sort of give them the outcomes they're
Actually,
after?
can I jump in there?
No, yeah, of course you can.
No,
Up
you know
to
what?
you.
I was going to. Well, you know what would be great to hear, only because I'd love to hear it.
Oh, there you go.
So for
Yeah,
anyone
absolutely.
listening, I'm jumping in here. What Saturday looks like? You know, let's say start with you, Bronte. What does this tell us? What has livability done? What does a Saturday look like for you?
Look, the number one focus is time management. So I like to ensure that I'm there on time for my tenants, prospective tenants, get there, arrive with a beautiful bright sign that we do have. I'm very customer focused. So put on the smiles for the tenants. Well, I'm a smiley person in general.
You are.
Yes, absolutely. And making sure I provide a really quality level of service. And I think that, the real service we provide definitely means we're essentially just real people. We understand, we have a common ground with these particular prospective tenants. We understand their stories and we do listen. And I think our main focus is we're just very emotionally intelligent. We are intuitive, and we listen to their stories. We understand where they're coming from.
What sort of stories do you get? I'm curious.
Look, I've had people, especially this time of year, I've had a lot of people that have been looking.
Because we did
No,
one.
that's okay.
We had a chat last week about how hard it is in peak season,
Yeah.
and how many people in a property. So I'd be fascinated to hear what stories you get. Sorry.
Oh yes, look, at other openings, we do hear that there's hundreds of people registering,
Yeah.
and they cut it down to maybe half of that or a quarter of that because realistically we can't really cater to crowds like that. However, the difference with MRE is that we do have that ideal week. We do have those openings where we can cater to people outside of work, and they can sign up at whatever time they would like to sign up for to register for an inspection. And I think that really makes us a standout compared to other agencies in terms of we can open the property at their ideal time. And
So you mean like midweek?
Yeah, midweek.
After hours.
After
How
hours,
many
6, 10 p.m.
How many of those do you reckon you do a week? Out of curiosity.
Mostly, like most days, I'd say we do open after hours.
Yeah.
From 5:30 to 6:10 onwards, but that is within our time frame. Within when we work.
Sure.
So a lot of people, and the fact that we do really listen to their stories as well.
We still didn't tell the story yet.
No, we
I
didn't.
wonder what's the best story you've had recently?
Oh, okay. I had someone just recently come from an inspection where they were running 30 minutes late, for instance, and we can notify our prospective tenants when we are running 5 or 10 minutes late. So they're always notified. There were hundreds of people at a particular inspection. The agent was looking at the ground, wasn't answering any questions, no smile on their face. And they looked a bit distraught and a bit lost when they came to my inspection. And they just sort of looked at me and they said, "Hey, this is the best service I've received all day. Thank you so much for just smiling."
Because you looked at them?
Yeah, because I
yeah.
looked at them.
Yeah, right.
And
Wow.
yeah, just listening to their stories in terms of their troubles of finding an apartment for weeks and weeks, and being able to cater to that, being able to register them for up-and-coming properties that are on the market. I listen to how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms they need, the particular suburbs they're looking for, and I may even put them in other inspections that they haven't registered for, and they just like the above and beyond service that we do provide.
Did that? I'm curious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did that client end up renting for us?
Yes, they did.
Oh,
they
fantastic.
did.
That's
and
good.
they
That's a good
continue.
story then.
It is.
Yeah,
They continue to, message me, and I say we might be working together in the near future. You never know. So we'll keep us in mind, and happy I could help.
So they've had
you
a
out.
great experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was another thing I used to say to you 15 years ago, which was that today's
that's nice.
tenants. Oh, well, just coming back to the tenant experience.
Yeah.
I always used to say today's tenants are tomorrow's landlords.
Correct. Yep.
And that's actually happened quite a few times.
Oh, we've picked up a lot of managements from people that have eventually bought a property or they've had one on the side and then they've gone, "I had a great experience with you. I'd love you to look after my property."
You looked at me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But more than that, I think
I'm kidding. I'm joking.
but the property managers do a great job, and it starts with the first experience that they have with us, and that's why these guys are on the forefront. Flynn, you've been in the team for a little while now. What do you see that when you're doing your opens that you get told you do differently, or that you try to do differently?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I guess sort of touching on what Bronte has been saying as well, you do get a lot of feedback from people and prospective tenants that do come to our opens, and especially on a Saturday, for example, it's the busiest day for real estate just in general, especially in leasing.
How many? Sorry,
of course.
I'll just jump in.
Yeah.
How many? Today's Friday, actually. So
tomorrow's a big day.
How many?
Yeah, so generally probably anywhere from 10 to 15, I would say, per agent on the day. And we do have a lot of agents that do work on the Saturdays. Every single one of our properties are open, as you obviously know.
So 10 to 15, and we have
agent,
11 or 10 in Liveability at the moment.
Yeah.
So that's 150 opens we'll do tomorrow.
Generally,
Just tomorrow.
Just tomorrow. So they're always open.
If they register
Sorry,
one
we
person,
cut off.
they register one person, but if they're bringing their kids and their wife or whatever it is, then
I knew it was big numbers, but I didn't realise it was probably
I think it does depend. Like if you're looking at somewhere in the city, anywhere close to a university, sort of in those surrounding areas, those ones are the ones that are getting really, really busy at the moment.
Yeah.
You probably will have maybe 20 to 25 people that have registered. But as Bronte was saying, generally they'll come in groups of 2, they'll come in groups of 3. So you do have a really big crowd in general that you have to manage. But generally speaking, I would say sort of in other sort of different areas, a lot of the more premium apartments that we service as well, probably maybe around that 5 group sort of mark.
Yeah.
It really just does depend on the type of apartment.
When you say group, you mean couples, probably. So
it's in 5 different registered groups. So you'll have 5 people that are registered.
Still
they might come with their partner or their
8
family.
or 10 people.
Yeah, exactly right. So in total, you're going to have a lot more people turning up, but the actual amount of prospective tenants that are going to be moving into that property will only be 5, 6, dependent on sort of the area, of course. But you do get those ones sort of around the city, university areas. They're really packed with 20, 25 people registered. And you do have those sort of 30, 40 people turn up.
That was the other question I was going to ask. So when you're going in hot on a Saturday, which is tomorrow in this case, 10 to 15 opens, our tenants, they can register.
Yes.
And so you sort of have a bit of an idea of the storm you're walking into.
You do,
A little bit. So we're here. How many you've got for tomorrow?
This is just an example. So in a particular building in the city, there may be some registered inspections back to back.
You're allowed to say that.
The William.
Yeah.
So
one we've been managing for 10 years?
10 years now, 2014
wow.
it's settled.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes we may get a busy Saturday where we have inspections preemptively booked back to back, and there may only be 2 people registered for one inspection, but another might have 12 to 13 to 20, etc. So in order to create more of your high-level experience, I just mentioned, look, I'll bring you all to all of them. They're quite similar. They're all 2-bedroom apartments, for instance, and I'll have you have a look at all of those, and I can register you in manually, and we can have a look. So if we have, say, 5 appointments at the William back-to-back, it may gradually increase the number of prospective tenants if they are in the same building. And some people may be curious off the street if they see our welcoming face and smiling and interacting with people. They may just say, "Oh, what's happening here? What type of service is this?" And
right.
Yeah. And I've had people come off the street very curious and just register in just because they want to be a part of the lovely group.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent.
FOMO.
Yeah. We need to start selling lemonade or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what they think.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's in the water, I guess.
We're selling something.
You do get a lot from the today's the day signboard. I get a lot of people walking past and having a few comments about that, and it eventually does turn into a conversation. You get people through, or you find out they're an owner of the building.
So for those that are listening, our open board say today is the day, being as in today is the open day. What sort of comments?
I mean, a lot of people ask me, what is the day for? Today's the day for what? So it just leads into sort of various different conversations. I suppose, it is obviously people can tell that it's a real estate signboard, but in terms of the slogan itself, people are like, the day for what exactly? It's a good way to be honest, to spark conversation. You do get a few people through.
Sort of the idea of it was to just make it a little less real estate and a bit more...
Yeah, a bit more personable,
a bit
I
more fun.
suppose. Yeah, of course. It definitely does work, I suppose, in that regard.
Yeah.
It brings through a lot of extra people. You have just random people on the street. talk to potential people that also want to sell their property as well. People, because I guess the boards that we do have, they're not catered specifically to open for a leasing inspection, open for a sale. So I get a lot of random people come up to me, oh, hey, well, what area do you work in, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Talk to them about if they own any properties they're looking to sell, if they're looking to buy.
Yeah.
Half the time, those details will get passed on to the respective team, send it off, and then let those guys do their
Hang on,
work.
mate, half the time.
Sorry. All of the time. All of the time.
Yeah, he meant all the time.
All of the time.
Yeah, I was going to let that one slide.
No, sorry.
Yeah, so
I
once
didn't
they,
hear anything.
A deal's a deal.
once they come through, we'll send that one off to whichever sort of respective department that they're looking for in that service, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, nice.
But it does work, yeah, for sure.
And then in terms of the feedback that you get from tenants, like one of the biggest things is that they tell us that you are helpful in regards to just being able to provide them with more information.
100%. I mean, you get people telling like, oh, go to an inspection, people come through, but a small talk, how's your day been today? Oh, the last 3 agents didn't turn up to my inspection. So
nice.
it's even just generally at a basic level, you've got these other agencies that, I guess we're technically competing against, kind of do the bare minimum in terms of turning up to the open. So when people do see the agent standing out the front, they're there on time with a smile on their face, as Bronte said. They come through, they feel welcomed, and just the bare minimum difference in turning up to some of these opens is what can make someone come through as a
So
tenant.
how often do you hear that they're not turning up?
Every day, I'd have to say, but just going
Every
back,
day?
touching.
So every
upon-
day you have a client that says they went to an open and the agent didn't turn up?
Didn't turn up. They were running late. They just didn't get notified. There was no communication in general. But
Wow.
Just to roll back on touching upon the tenant experience, I think what also brings us above and beyond is that we also communicate quite clearly with our prospective tenants. And this is through calling, text messages, emailing upon the day or I try to realistically, I wouldn't say upon the minute. However, if we are running late, that we ensure that they're always notified if we're running 5 or 10
How
minutes
do we
late
do
due
that?
to traffic.
Is that like a group?
Through our IRE notes
Yes.
that we do get provided, we can just go in and
text.
group text.
Yeah.
So that's quite ideal in a sense. But also responding to inquiries via email as well. I also mentioned after the inspection, you'll receive a to apply link in the next 5 or 10 minutes. My email will also be attached to that. So if you have any questions, concerns, please reach out to me. And I find that people do still ask questions, and even about other listings or even for other family members. And I do find that the quick and high level of service we provide on the day, responding back to those messages, makes us quite a standout as well. And I'm sure Flynn can agree. Yeah.
Certainly, yeah.
So it's interesting that if you look at consumer industries, you'd expect that type of level of
Yeah.
service,
Yeah,
but it's just not
expected
happening.
service.
not
Exactly
happening.
right, yeah.
So that's interesting. The other side of it is the tenants that we see. Like we've over the past few years, we've sort of amended the way that we go about showing tenants. We went from having an open for inspection during the week and an open for inspection on the weekend to then now we use this ideal week, and that allows tenants to choose their own time. But a reflection of that is that we don't want tenants to turn up if the property doesn't suit them. So we've taken
absolutely.
the approach of full disclosure rental advertising. Can you guys go into a little bit of detail about how that impacts the tenants when they walk in on the property, and what their reaction is when they walk in and they see the property for the first time?
At a suitable time for them? Or?
Yeah, well, at a suitable time for them, and when they walk in and it's the same property that they were
well,
thinking to come to.
100%. In terms of, you get a lot of comments, people come through and they're like, wow, the property actually looks like the photos. Because it's such a common sort of practice. You've got all these subpar
Definitely.
listings people putting up
You'd
on
hope.
REA.
You would hope, yeah.
Well, that's the thing. You'd hope so, but in this industry...
What does that mean? Like, so you're saying that
The photos are accurate to what the property looks like in person.
that people are out there.
Competition don't.
Competition don't. So you get a lot of people as... you jump onto
They don't,
REA.
they don't have photos, or they
They
just
have photos. They're just they're no
Looks like
good.
it's
They're
been-
wide angle photos. They're
or
low
they're just
quality.
distorted, or they're
Yeah, exactly right.
Looks
So
like it's been
it's not
taken on an
accurate
iPhone
representation.
2 or something.
Oh, right.
Or it's another apartment which is similar. to
So
that
they're
one.
basically advertising someone's asset that's worth, I don't know, $500,000 up,
Yeah.
Yep.
and using really subpar
terrible marketing.
Yes.
Yeah. So people do come through and they're often surprised. I get a lot of people coming through and be like, wow, this place actually looks good. You know, people come through to other ones and especially when, you're in a tenant's position at this time of year, people are going through to hundreds of different properties.
Yeah.
I speak to people and they've done more inspections than me in one day. And this is my job to do inspections. You've got people that are out there doing how many inspections in one day. They go through, they see so many different properties from different agencies. Every single time they come through, wow, this is the best property that I've seen.
What about the, all of our properties for lease have a video that we have done, a marketing video?
Correct.
Do we have, how many people, just rough percentage, would have seen the video, do you think, when they arrive?
I would say 80 to 90% have seen the video. A lot of people don't know that they have to physically inspect as well. So a lot of people call me and they're like, the video is amazing. I would like to, just put forward an application for this. But going back to the back end of things, and when I used to work on the administrative side of MRE, is that when we were uploading new properties up to realestate.com or our main website, we had to make sure that none of the images were pixelated and there were a certain quality before we could put them online. So I think that level of service on the back end too really just prioritises how high quality the business has to be.
And then even touching on that, I guess from a total customer service experience, it's not just us going out to the opens and talking to these people and being friendly and sort of promoting that. It starts at the beginning from where people can actually book in, they're looking at the listings. It's the entire experience and the whole package of renting through MRE. When you have a professional listing that looks fantastic, it's accurate, it's not misleading. You go through, you can book through Ideal Week, and there's times available that are suitable to the individual. You come through, and then there's also fantastic service at the end when people are shown the property, and then that carries over through the property management side of things and beyond.
Yeah, and
so
people
it's a whole package.
Yeah, people just feel heard as well, which I think is quite important. We're all trying to achieve a common goal here, but a lot of people, they feel like they can't speak up. They feel like their experiences aren't noticed, and we really pay attention to that. And I think that's the most important part of MRE and
awesome.
what we create.
I love hearing that.
Awesome. Bronte, Flynn,
Yes.
thanks for coming in today and sharing your bits.
No problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Loved
guys.
it.
Well, thank you.
Signing
No
off.
dramas.
Speak
Cool.
soon.
See you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye.
Bye.